Hi everybody, this video is sponsored by a contribution from Anonymous, and this is what she wants you to know. Hi Ollie, first off I would like to thank you for the video you had made on my part of my personal account I had sent into the channel. I'm the one that experienced the extreme of narcissistic abuse, as you put it. I wanted you to know that the entire video was validating. You had, again, verbatim, the same exact response and reaction, down to what you said, as I did while going through it. Even posed the same arguments. Not meaning anything negative by this, just being honest. It was kind of strange and odd hearing and seeing that. It had brought up powerful emotions and tears. I was shaking by the time it was over, not to sound weird or anything, just to see and know that a complete stranger had the same exact response and emotional reaction to each out there occurrence as I did as a child. As they were doing it was a bit overwhelming and blew me away. My narcissist abusers constantly gaslighted and undermined me at every turn. I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's nice and good to know that after all this time, I did indeed have a normal response and reaction to the abnormal situation. And I wasn't the crazy one, nor was it all in my head like I had been told all those years. Anyway, I wanted to say that it helped a lot, and I greatly appreciate your insights. You were spot on, so thank you. You're welcome. I am still back and forth on the follow-up requested with various things I'll have to say. Also, I wanted all you guys to know that I have cut off and went no contact with all my mother's side of the family years ago. For stuff that happened before that particular memory or any memories of sexual abuse resurfaced. It was incredibly difficult to maintain no contact from my mother and Narc brother. They both have a bit of relentless stalker in them. Now I'm in a location, to my knowledge, that they don't know where I'm at. What I wanted to address today is a more current situation. A bit of background first, just to give you an idea, regarding my father, who I now know is a covert narcissist himself. As I've only discovered and educated myself enough on the NPD and BPD personality disorders not that long ago. I hadn't had any trouble with the no contact thing as far as my dad goes. He hadn't ever really been interested in being a father to me. Only my golden child, older brother, Precious. Spending ridiculous amounts of money my brother's entire life, purchasing the best of everything, which wasn't good enough for my brother, in feeble attempts to buy his own son's love, and of course it didn't work. I tried telling my father that at 7 years old, but of course he wouldn't listen. Being to him, I was the stupid one. My brother's typical reaction, even into late teens, was baby-like temper tantrums, crying and whining his wah-wahs like a little bitch. Sorry for the language and expression. My brother, who was over 4 years older than me, who publicly acted like a Billy badass, thinking it was cool to beat the crap out of his baby sister in front of his friends until I gotten big enough to defend myself. Good old Precious, with his girly, wussified, attention-seeking tantrums, cracked me up and gave me several of my cousins and friends a good laugh throughout my life growing up. LOL. At the end of the day, when it came down to it, I really did feel sorry for my brother. For the longest time, we had been kept apart and didn't see each other's abuse. I honestly didn't know he was being abused. I stayed to myself most of the time, just thankful for the times I was given, the only thing that I ever asked for my entire life, which was to be left the hell alone by those people. Anyway, once my brother had gotten older, he hadn't grown out of his baby-fied tantrums. I noticed that my maturity level was way past his at a very early age. I realized that he was being abused as well. It just had to be worse than the violent physical abuse and neglect I had been getting. I almost couldn't believe it. It was abundantly obvious that he was more damaged than I was. I had wondered what in the world my parents had did to him. And on the other hand, I was thankful that I hadn't or wasn't getting whatever he was getting. I knew whatever they had done and most likely were still doing to him, since my forms of abuse were still going on, that I wouldn't ever be as screwed up and as damaged as he was, no matter how bad it would get. At that time, I didn't know that a person, a living, breathing human being with a proverbial heart and conscience, with thoughts and feelings of their own, could literally be broken. Well, we've all been broken. There is always that moment where they break us all. I figured it was from what I had suspected and questioned my parents about it many times throughout my younger childhood. My older brother had a huge, severe, about 12-inch long, 1.5-inch wide, vertical deep scar running down the middle of his back that he had gotten at 1.5 to 2 years old. I don't know for sure. Their stories kept changing on the age, happening way before I was even close to being conceived. My brother always said it was from his playing in their closet, and a large mason jar full of pennies up on the high shelf fell and broke over his head, cutting his back. Given the straight vertical pattern of the scar, like he had been sliced straight down the back with something, no gashes or deviations. It didn't make any sense to me, but whatever. I didn't ever believe her, being she refused to take responsibility for it, blaming it all on her 2-year-old toddler and how he shouldn't have been playing in her and her husband's bedroom closet, rifling through their private personal things. I was like, shit, that's what the terrible twos do. And your mother just told you what happened. Your mother just told you what happened. Right there. He was in the closet going through her personal things like a 2-year-old will do. They don't know what they're doing. They have no concept of boundary or personal. They're 2. And she saw this and looked down at your brother like he was doing it deliberately, and went into a psychotic, narcissistic rage and did something to your brother's back. Cut him with something, scissor, something sharp. Because your mother's a psychotic. She told you what she did. By her, all you have to do is look at what she's blaming him with, and that's a very specific thing. Rifling through their private, personal property things. That is something that's an accusation. That's a narcissistic accusation at a 2-year-old. And it's to shift blame to the 2-year-old. And they're not even realize they're talking about a 2-year-old and assigning intent by saying rifling through their personal private things shows your brother's intent at 2 years old in their mind. She's telling you what happened. You just got to be able to read the tea leaves. You should have been watching your own kid. Of course, that usually proceeded with a backhand and me hitting the floor, but oh well. Bottom line, when I was little and growing up, despite how big of a jerk my older brother was, it still pissed me off at what my parents did to him. And I knew that they were lying about it. What pissed me off the most as a kid was that even though my dad knew how effed up his wife was, and no matter how much he turned down turned the other cheek and denied it, I knew that he knew what she had done was wrong. Why else would they feel the need to lie about it, to cover it up? With all the evidence and him knowing all that, he still gave her what she wanted. Another child. Me. He told me once when I was around 5 or 6 in crocodile tears that he was sorry, begging for my forgiveness. Actually admitted that he knew it was wrong, claiming that he did it because he loved his wife so much. I hated that man, if you want to call him that, from that day forth, and had zero respect for him my entire life, even up to this day. Side note, I grew up calling him the Dream Crusher, and he hasn't done anything to warrant earning my respect or forgiveness. Sorry for the outright vent there. I wasn't really expecting that when I first started writing this. I suppose I just had to get that out. I really like the term you use, righteous anger. That's pretty cool. That helps me feel a little better about the harbored, deep, buried anger anyway. Anyway, getting to the point of why I'm writing in today. Once the repressed memories had come back, about a month ago now, I had deleted and blocked my dad and his brother on Facebook. They are the only two of his family I had on my Facebook friends list. I really hadn't thought much about the Facebook thing. My dad lives far away, doing the same old thing, whatever, I guess. He hasn't ever really had any interest in being a father or any interest in his grandchildren. So that has made it easier on me as far as the no contact thing goes. I've only seen him once in the last 3 years, this past Christmas, with only his side of the family at my grandmother's house. Who I love and adore, she has always been really awesome to me and my kids, and has loved having her great-grandkids involved in her life. Anyway, after these memories came back, I deleted and blocked both my dad and his brother from Facebook and chose to go complete no contact with my dad's entire family. The way I look at it, if my dad is really NPD, which I am positive he is, his parents had something to do with him in order for him to be the way he is. It's not worth it, and I can't run the risk, even the slightest potential of my own kids being exposed to any sort of the abuse whatsoever. Very good decision on your part. Very good decision. And this is what comes with no contact, the ability to make good decisions on your own. My grandmother won't understand, I'm sure, and I don't know how to even begin to explain it to her, or if I'm just going to go cold turkey without any explanations at all. Anyway, that's not the main point. Not long after I decided to go complete no contact, the calls from my grandmother and texts from my uncle had started. I visit my grandmother, but not that often. I only talked to her once since Christmas, and that was only to touch base to see how she was doing. She left several voicemails for me to call her, eventually sounding angry on them, telling me to call it back. She needs to talk to me about my daddy. I hadn't returned any of her calls or texts. The last set of calls were 2 days ago, one from my grandmother, one from my dad. The voicemail my grandmother left me was worried and desperate sounding, saying to please call her that my dad was in the hospital. He had a stroke. The voicemail later that day I had gotten from my dad said that he had just gotten out of the hospital and very politely asked me to call him. When I told my boyfriend about it, who has been incredibly supportive through all this, continues to stand by my side, and has taken all this unbelievably well, asked me if I thought they were making it up to suck me back in. I don't know. After all I have seen and experienced, I still have trouble believing that someone would stoop so low to make something like that up, just for the sake of getting a foot back in the door. Perhaps I've been out and away from all that for so long, it's hard to imagine. I've had that nagging voice, thought, or whatever you want to call it, in the back of my mind that I can't seem to shake. It's been going on ever since the call started, the what ifs. What if it's real? What if your own father really had a stroke and may possibly die soon? What does that say about you as a person if that does happen and you knowingly and willingly do nothing when you had a chance to do something, your last chance? Your last chance at what? At what? You decided to go no contact with them for the reason they're toxic. Your father was a little enabling douchebag who let you get abused and let your mother cut your brother down his back, because that's what happened. Because she took it personally that a 2-year-old was playing in her closet. What's to be gained? He showed no interest in being a father to you. He showed no interest in your life and his grandchildren. So what's the point if he's lying or not? He could be. It's very possible he could be lying. Even if he did have a stroke. So what? So what? That's the guilt over the guilt you don't feel. And again, that goes back to righteous anger. You have a right to be that way, to feel that way. Death and sickness do not absolve the narcissist of their actions. I've said that a million times. Just because a narcissist dies, they don't then ascend to sainthood. It doesn't absolve them of the abuse and the enabling and the bullshit that they carry on, and in your case, continue to carry on to present day. So the answer to these questions is, who cares? It doesn't matter. He doesn't deserve any of it. He doesn't even take time for his own grandchildren. What's the point? Who is he? He birthed you. That's it. He birthed you and let you get abused your entire life and continues to do so. Because he was a weak, feckless little bitch of a man, as he said. Does a stroke change any of that? Does a stroke give you back the years you lost and the years that were stolen from you? Why? So you can be guilted and sucked back in by his enablers and flying monkeys and the people who you rightfully suspect put him on this path and made him a narcissist to begin with? Your father may be alive, but he was dead to you a long time ago. As were all our parents. Dead to us. Dead inside. Dead since birth. You got to realize that. It's because the physical body's still walking around. What are you gonna? You gonna mourn flesh and blood? The person that was supposed to be your father, or the idea of your father, died years ago. So then why go mourn? Why go mourn the rotting corpse, the vessel of the narcissist? Makes no sense. You have nothing to feel guilty about. I don't know. It's all weird and exhausting. The nagging thoughts coupled with the nightmares I've been having since the call started are starting to seriously get to me. If any other fellow narc abuse survivors have similar experience, how did you guys cope and handle it? Any advice and feedback would be greatly appreciated. Listen to what I just, take my advice of what I just said. That's how you gotta come to that realization. Ollie, one last thing I would like to say to you, other than asking you for input and advice, is to say I really appreciate your straightforward, real perspective and insights on this channel. You keep it up and running, bringing awareness and getting the truth out there, despite all the hate the internet trolls throw at you trying to shut you down. I'm sure you've heard this many times. It takes a great deal of courage to do what you do, sharing your abuse history and putting yourself out there. Not that it matters much. I just wanted to say that I have a great deal of respect for what you do. Good luck with your campaign and major kudos to you. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you contributing to the channel and throwing your support behind it. It means a lot. And take notice, take heed of what I said in this video, of how you cope with it. Come to the realization the idea of a father was dead to you. The idea of a mother was dead to you years ago. So don't go mourning. Don't go worrying about if he had it doesn't matter. They're dead to you. It says nothing about you as a person. The only thing it says it to is the people who are part of the narcissist ring to begin with. And the whole point of no contact is to get to the point of who cares what they say? They're meaningless to me anyway. Thank you to everybody who's watched. Again, Anonymous asked for any comments or feedback in the comment section below, so please do that. And if you have your own story you want read, a question, some topic you want me to tackle, and you want it immediately, you know what to do with the PayPal link in the description box. That is really can help and contribute to keeping this the way we like it. You know what to do. I'll have the video for you very quickly. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Bye.